Well, so I was born 80 years ago this year in Budapest, Hungary, January 1944, to Jewish parents whose lives were already impacted by the Second World War. My father was in forced labor with the Hungarian army. A Jewish man had to go into forced labor when I was born, so he wasn't there when I was born. In March, the German army occupied Hungary, and then the genocide, the Holocaust that had obliterated the Jewish population of Eastern Europe, but not yet that of Hungary, began in our country. And within 3 months, between March and June, they murdered 500,000 Jews, including my grandparents. And we came very close to being deported ourselves, my mother and I. So I spent the first year of my life under Nazi occupation, with the mother who was terrorized and grief-struck. Didn't know if my father was dead or alive for most of that year. And then when I was 11 months of age, to save my life, mother gave me to a complete stranger, a Christian woman in the street. And she conveyed me to some relatives living in relative safety and hiding. I didn't see her for 5 or 6 weeks. And all this is recorded in the journal that she kept. I didn't discover the journal. I always had her journal. But for many years, when I tried to read it, I'd get dizzy. It's almost like something in me knew that this is too painful for me to handle. So it wasn't until some years ago, when my mother's still alive, when I asked her to actually read the journal to me so I could really read what happened. And she wrote in the journal that I'm writing this because if my son grows up, I want him to know what happened. So that's in a nutshell. But those events left a deep imprint in my nervous system, in my body, and in my psyche. And those traumatic events created a lot of psychological wounds in me that took me some years to even recognize, let alone to heal. And it wasn't until I was into late adulthood or middle age that I really began to deal with it and to recognize the subsequent impacts that then I passed on to my kids without meaning to, but just for the lack of awareness. So that's it in a nutshell.